People are running. They're scared. Garlic Festival.
And I'll find out where he can get the victims closest to us.
Enough. That is the word on the new cover of Time magazine, which lists the locations of the 253 mass shootings in America so far this year. That is more than 250 incidents of gun violence, and we're only 220 days into 2019.
There's a better path that we can go down in this country.
It's irresponsible that we don't take action.
I've been thinking a lot about the fact that this same debate and this same cycle has been going on my entire adult life. And I'm wondering what it will take to get the sense of urgency, to get Washington to actually respond.
Democratic contenders generally support expanding the national gun background check system, renewing a ban on military-style assault weapons, and passing red flag laws to temporarily block people from buying a gun if they're considered an imminent risk to themselves or to others.
At the end of the day, especially because this was a white supremacist manifesto, that I want to say with more moral clarity that Donald Trump is responsible. He's responsible because he is stoking fears and hatred and bigotry. He is responsible because he's failing to condemn white supremacy. And
the president's language, his rhetoric, has produced the kinds of hate crimes that we saw in El Paso yesterday, but we've been seeing across this country. They've been on the rise for each one of the last 3 years.
Look, and it gives me no pleasure to say this, but I think all of the evidence out there suggests that we have a president who is a racist, who is a xenophobe, who appeals and is trying to appeal to white nationalism.
Mr. Obama also said in a statement, quote, "We should soundly reject language coming out of the mouths of any of our leaders that normalizes racist sentiments."
It's a sad time. Let's sort it out. I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
This is NewsRap, live at 5. Okay, where was Elizabeth Warren?
I knew.
Did you put together this montage?
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. If I did, Harris would have had more than a one-liner.
Oh, okay.
but when I was watching it,
yeah,
I knew Barry's going to key in on Elizabeth Warren not being there.
Because she did have something to say about it.
She did.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: what'd you take? What was your impression of that? Not the package, but of all the clips, what resonated with you in there? It was a lot, I know, but something I know resonated with you in there.
Well, we're calling it the way it is, I think. I think we're being very, very honest. I don't think, I know the media is going to try to make it, we're picking a fight with Donald Trump. I don't think so. I think we're finally being strong enough to call it the way we see it. And to me, that's what resonates. And the fact that the candidates aren't shying away from it. And the fact that the candidates aren't trying to triangulate or paper over or, I'm going to lose this vote if I come out.
That's what resonated with me, is that all of them, including Warren, who's not in there, the big six, as we referred to them before we came on,
right,
all dove into the subject.
Well, there were more than six there.
I know, but I'm talking about the
O'Rourke.
big six.
Yeah, exactly.
They dove in to the deep end of the pool.
Yes, they did.
And swam towards the issue instead of going, what do I do here?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. And we have to now, because now it's a little tricky, right? Because of the Dayton situation. Because according to a lot of coverage, although I haven't seen the coverage as much on mainstream as I have on kind of in the Twitter sphere, but the kind of
he was a leftist
relationship. He seems to have been a leftist. Yes.
You know what? I think that serves the point here.
And I think I can go with that, that he was a leftist.
I agree, he was.
And then Trump, of course, that gives him an excuse to say, well, we're not blaming Warren or Sanders for their rhetoric.
You know what? I saw that exact conversation on Twitter today.
Yeah.
Where Sarah Sanders, said you cannot blame the president for
is
this.
Sarah back?
Just like you can't blame.
I miss her so much.
Just like you can't blame Obama for Dayton. Thousands of comments pointing out, but Obama never called for violence.
No, of course not.
From his followers. So I don't think.
Of course not. And neither did Sanders, and neither did Warren.
It's a tragedy, and I'm not saying we should take advantage of the tragedy, but I'm saying that what does need to be pointed out is the difference in the messages.
Absolutely.
And 45, Donald Trump, whatever you want to, President Trump, has directly called.
I like individual one myself.
Individual one. The guy who should be in the joint.
Yeah, right.
Let's call him that.
Right.
He has called for violence. He has even said he would bail out people at his rally.
Yeah.
If they attacked people.
He has.
He said he himself could shoot somebody.
On Fifth Avenue.
On Fifth Avenue.
Right.
And not lose a voter.
Right.
So, and they are, what was his, rapists, thugs, we're not getting the best and the brightest.
Right.
Those are his words.
And invasion is his word.
And invasion. So those are his words. And you know what, if you label people that way, and somebody with some issues picks up a gun, that's on you.
That's right.
It's on him.
I totally agree with that. And the fact is that, and that's partly what Elizabeth Warren said in a very quiet way, was, you know, if you allow yourself to be embraced by it, you can't then just say, oh, I have nothing to do with it.
Of course.
And he has been embraced by the white supremacy movement, going back to David Duke, to Spencer.
David Duke
Richard
said he
Spencer,
speaks for me.
That's right.
That's a direct quote.
That's right. And so he has, if nothing else, if he hasn't fostered it, he has normalized it or neutralized it. And that's a real problem, because he's not treating it as the kind of disease that it is.
Normalizing it is worse than fostering it, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because when you normalize it, you bring it into
Exactly.
society as this is okay, this is part of
Exactly.
America.
Right.
This is who we are.
Right. And what he's sort of implying, I mean, and going back to Charlottesville, what he's sort of implying is that there are good white supremacists and bad white supremacists.
And he hangs out with
Right?
the best people.
Right. And he hangs out with the good ones. No, but that's kind of
It is.
what the implication is. And it's just like, you know, well, yeah, there were good Nazis there and there were bad Nazis there. Or there were people that thought the same thing that didn't call themselves Nazis,
Right.
and maybe they're better. And once you start to categorize and kind of put these folks in segments, you're losing the whole point. There's no spectrum of this.
No.
There's just racism. There's just white supremacy.
Well-
and his whole administration is based on white supremacy.
Let's make it personal.
Because have you heard him try to keep Norwegians out of the country?
No, we're Canadians.
Right, no.
So let's make it personal. You're Jewish, I'm African American.
Okay.
I can guarantee you that I've never said, oh, there were some good slave owners.
Yep.
I guarantee you I've never once had that thought, or anybody I'm related to had that thought.
No, of course not.
In their head.
Of course
Even if this guy is not beating somebody's ass every day, to be
Right.
completely blunt, you are still a slave.
That's right.
You are still in bondage. You still do not have your rights.
That's right.
Okay? I'm not going to speak for your culture,
What? Would there are good Nazis? No, there are no good Nazis.
which is the point I was
Right.
hoping you'd make. They're
Right.
just
And
doesn't
there-
matter if
and
you
there are
weren't
no
hanging.
good anti-Semites. I
Exactly.
mean, I'm not going to go there either, right?
Exactly.
Right.
It's just the reality of it. So, if I am Latino, if I were Latino, I would not be saying, oh, well, what he's saying is there are good people who believe that also. No.
No, of course not.
We saw the ICE raid on TV today.
Of course.
We saw kids going to school for the first day of school and then crying for mommy and daddy who are now gone.
And what were their crimes? Were these hardened criminals that they were taking away? And
No, because in one instance, they went to a food processing plant.
right?
hardened criminals usually aren't taking the kids to school.
No, not usually.
In the minivan.
That's right.
And working 9 to 5. They're doing hardened criminal things.
Well, they do on City on a Hill.
Of course. You got me on that one.
The Showtime show,
Right,
yeah.
right.
He takes the kids to school,
Right.
and then he goes
You
robs
got me on
armored
that one.
cars. And, yeah.
You got me on that one.
Yeah.
But you know my point.
You do. Yeah, exactly.
So what happens now, Barry? Do the Republicans get out of this, the gun issue, the mass shooting issue?
Well, that's the next big problem, because we've got to do more than what anyone is putting on the table. And we've got to confront it. We have an opening in I believe it was the Heller case.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an opening where even Scalia had to say, yes, the Second Amendment is important. You have a personal right to own a firearm. It's not absolute.
Of course.
There can be some regulation.
Just like...
And I still am not hearing anybody on the Republican side, other than, I don't know, maybe Justin Amash or somebody, or a couple of people, I haven't heard anybody say, we have to have an assault weapons ban. We've got to have a ban on high-capacity magazines. They are starting to embrace maybe the idea of background checks. I heard one woman who was one of the protesters at McConnell's office say something that really bothered me, because she said, well, you know, it'd be great, and I love that they're saying that we can have universal background checks because that's the gold standard. That is not the gold standard. That is the least we can do right now.
Right.
That and red flag laws.
We should have been there years ago.
Right. That is the least we can do. We have got to confront the fact that nobody is entitled to carry around weapons that can create mass slaughter.
Let me tell you something personal here. So the day of Gilroy,
Yeah.
I took Lauren, my 10-year-old daughter, to see The Lion King. And as I always do now when I take my family out, I'm aware of the exits.
Absolutely.
I am aware of how I can quickly get to an exit.
Yeah.
And anything that could be in my way heading towards an exit.
Yeah.
This guy comes in a MAGA hat, with a jacket on. Now, mind you, it's 100 degrees. We're there at 2 o'clock.
And he's wearing a jacket.
With his hands in his pocket.
Oh.
And he's about 40, and he's by himself.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think my first thought is?
You're profiling.
No. My first thought is, this guy is completely
You're
out of
profiling that white MAGA dude.
No.
That's what you're doing.
He's completely out of place.
That's right.
He's in a kid's movie.
Well, that's what profiling does.
In a jacket.
Yeah, right.
Call it what you want to. He's in a kid's movie, in a jacket, with his hands in his pocket.
I agree.
And he goes to the top of the theater, and he stands there.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're just looking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even looking at the movie anymore. I'm looking at this dude like, okay, take your hands out of your...
Okay, so I hope you're
pocket.
going to say that his wife and kids were at the concession stand and ultimately joined him, and he was...
When I got Lauren to the exit, his wife and kids walked in with the popcorn because they were at the concession stand.
Right, because that's usually what happens when someone's standing. At
But it is a lesson in that I can't afford to go. I have to watch everybody. I have to know where the exits are.
Right, and if he was in Orange County...
He's fine.
And you walked in...
He's looking at me.
In a hoodie.
Right.
Right?
Right.
He's going to look at you. Right?
If I walk in a hoodie in Orange County in the same movie by myself with the hat on that says Black Lives Matters,
right.
How fast before the police get there?
Okay, now let me ask you this. If you live in a society where it's almost impossible to get a gun, how afraid are you?
In that situation? In that situation right there? Same amount.
Yeah, because you figure they're going to get it illegally, or you figure they're going to... I mean, do you know how much harder it is to go through that trouble, to associate with the underworld in order to get a gun?
Of course.
I mean, it's the whole point is how easy it is to do this.
But you know what? My mom and dad never worried about that when they took us to a movie when we were kids.
Of course not. Of course not.
Never.
So what has changed?
Access.
Access has definitely changed.
Access has definitely changed, and it has become okay for whatever reason to act out on your anger, your hate,
I agree,
and your emotion.
Yeah.
Nobody, Democrat or Republican, has said the word tolerance.
Right.
We can talk about background checks. We can talk about how easy it is to get a weapon. We can even talk about mental health.
And I'm going to give you a reason that you're not going to agree with.
Go ahead.
Why I think a lot of this is worse, and you're all going to laugh, I know, and so get ready to laugh.
Video games.
No, reality TV. Reality TV gives permission for people to show their worst sides.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to add social media.
Absolutely.
Which gives everybody a right, not a right, it is demanded upon you that if you have an opinion, you post it.
And you have to express it in the most controversial way.
Exactly.
Or you don't get viewers.
Exactly.
You don't get followers.
Exactly.
And that's what we do. Kind of.
Kind of it is.
We do. I mean, we don't sit around and say, well, yeah.
Let's shock them this way or let's shock them that way.
No, we don't do that.
Right.
But the fact is, we're strong in our opinions because otherwise, who's going to watch?
You wouldn't watch us.
And that is very much a product of reality TV because reality TV is the least real TV on television because they are told as contestants to be as outrageous
and to create aggression and to create conflict.
You know, so we're in a society with the Kardashians, and we're in a society with Kanye West, and we're in a society with, yes, the President of the United States, who comes out of
reality TV.
Reality TV milieu.
And not to mention, they have turned the election cycle into reality TV.
That's right.
Meaning the guy who 20 years ago...
We'd already started to do that.
That's why I paused.
Absolutely.
But the guy who now is president 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, couldn't get elected, 10 years ago, couldn't get elected. Now, they won't take the camera off of him.
Yeah.
Even though they know they should. They know he's lying. They know he's inappropriate, but they keep the camera on him, hoping he'll say some of those things.
I think it's time to look at the local.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is your local news brief for Friday, August 9th, 2019. Pasadena's Board of Zoning Appeals has voted 4-1 against Sweet Flower Pasadena LLC's conditional use permit, or CUP. The board claims that the retailer failed to include a mapping report prepared by a licensed surveyor. To date, Sweet Flower has submitted a total of 3 revised CUPs, their most recent one with a mapping report reviewed by a licensed surveyor. Greg Sanders, Sweet Flower's lawyer, argued the difference between prepared by and reviewed by during the discussion. Sanders claimed that Sweet Flower was held to a completely different standard than other applicants. David Reyes, director of the Planning Commission, rejected their permit application and is quoted in a Pasadena Now article as saying, "Sweet Flower submitted an incomplete application, and that's the bottom line." As of now, 4 of the 6 approved cannabis retailers have successfully submitted their CUPs. Southland Publishing has been sold to Times Media Group, or TMG, an Arizona-based publisher. Locally, the Pasadena Weekly is under Southland Publishing, as well as the Arroyo Monthly, Playa Vista Direct, and the Argonaut. TMG president Steve Strickbine hopes to solidify the connection Southland Publications has with the communities it serves. In a Pasadena Weekly article, Strickbine is quoted as saying their goal is to grow the number of readers we serve with community news. Southland Publishing president Bruce Bolkin is quoted in the same article as saying, "We are confident that Steve Strickbine and his company will be wonderful stewards of these publications, and that the readers and advertisers that continue to support them are in good hands." On August 1st, 2019, the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, passed its 3rd report and order on cable franchising. The move will affect funding to public, education, and government television channels across the country. Currently, the cable company collects franchise fees from subscribers, which are then passed to local franchising authorities to operate pegged channels. Under the new FCC order, cable companies could withhold funding to support the costs of in-kind contributions. This action could greatly reduce and potentially eliminate funding for many community access, education, and government cable channels. More than 60 members of Congress have opposed this FCC order. NewsRap is produced and broadcast through Pasadena Media, a nonprofit which receives funding through the City of Pasadena, a local franchising authority that has agreements with Charter and AT&T.
So the FCC is messing with us again, huh?
Seems like it never ends, right?
Well, it does. And, you know, I taught a class in politics and the media.
Let's add Professor Gordon.
So a little professoring going on right now. So in 1934, they passed the Federal Communications Act, which actually was the Federal Radio Commission that became the Federal Communications Commission. And the key issue there was that because the airwaves belong to the public. Now, this is different. This is cable. That's a different situation, I admit that. But because the airwaves belong to the public, they said that broadcasting has got to be viewed in the public interest.
Right.
Right? And that meant, and that kind of started in a very small way, before cable, it started the idea that you had to have programming that was educational,
right,
or that involved the community, or that involved something that was enlightening,
right,
and
now
informative.
Now infomercials pass for that.
Now, well, not only infomercials, anything on TV passes for that, because it got reinterpreted in the 80s, in the 1980s, under Reagan. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make it partisan, but it was under Reagan.
It's just the reality of it.
And it got reinterpreted as the public interest is whatever the public is interested in. So public interest is
whatever I'm interested
whatever
in.
Gets ratings. That's what public interest
Wow.
is. And that's how it got redefined. Now, when we started with cable, then there was a whole other theory that you had to reserve part of the time for what was called PEG.
Right.
Right? Which is public, educational, and governmental access.
Look at this, man. Look at you.
That's what it stands for. This is the public side. Right? This is kind of the First Amendment. People get to talk. People get to...
My side.
Right. And people get to talk to you, and you get to talk back. And by the way, a few people have been talking back, and we will get to you guys probably as soon as we go to Facebook.
That's right.
And we'll answer all of your comments and get back to the other conversation. But the fact is that there's always been this so-called PEG component, and it's been really, really important, and continues to be. And that's what the Arroyo channel is about. We're the public, and KPAS is the governmental, and then there are educational channels like KPCC and KLearn. So now, again, another Republican administration, Trump's administration, and now they're taking away any kind of, the ability to get revenue for those kinds of programs, because that was the whole point.
Of course.
That was the point. So where do we go from here? What did you hear at the council?
You know, what you have to remember here, and with this administration...
Or has the council taken it up
They haven't
yet?
taken it up yet. This administration is going to do all it can to take away the voice of the people. Unless that voice supports this administration.
Yeah, Trump TV.
Trump TV, Fox News, that kind of thing. And so, again, we're seeing that because when you come to times like these, and you know this, and I know this, and we've seen it, people will go to things like public access and the airwaves. And you've seen Congress talk about regulations on social media. People will go to those places where they can express themselves if they do not feel like they have a voice.
That's right.
In the administration. And that's what's happening. And now that's going to be, there's already an effort now to squeeze that down and squeeze what they can remaining out of that. Simple as that.
So complain.
Yep. You got to complain.
Write to your
Adam.
Write to Adam or to Judy Chu, and
or wherever you are when you hear this, find out who your congressman is.
That's
and
right.
Who you write to.
That's right. Complain. And hopefully that will change with a new administration.
Well, also understand this. I'm going to jump on this for a second.
Sure.
Just as you see us here doing this show, you could come down to this station and you can do your own show. So it's not just us that will go away, our voice, but your opportunity to express yourself also goes away.
That's right.
And that's even more important.
That's right. And that's what a public access or a community access
is all about.
And that's what we're here to do.
Yep.
And we've been doing it better and better, by the way. I'm not talking necessarily about our show. But that's but no, we've been doing it better and better with shows like Impact Pasadena and Bobby Ferguson's show, and We're doing morning stuff, and we're doing some fun stuff. And it's really for
doing some amazing
you,
stuff at the
and
station
it's really that's right, and it's really for you, and we hope you'll take advantage of it.
Yep.
And of course, now we have a social media presence also, so don't forget to come to Facebook and make comments, and you can rewatch our episodes on YouTube and on Facebook
and all that fun
So
stuff.
we're getting a social media platform,
Right. And
as well.
Maybe even some more platforms will come up in the future.
I would think so. I mean, that's where technology usually goes.
I mean, even for us.
That's possible. We've been chatting about that.
Something else may
I'm
come
not
up here.
revealing
No,
anything yet.
But something else may come up here soon.
But it could.
Yeah.
It could. Yeah. That could well be.
So you ready to run over to Studio B?
I don't know if we're quite ready to run over to Studio B. I think we can maybe until the end credits go on. We've got, what, about 2 minutes or about a minute and a half?
You know, they're actually filming us for a documentary here.
Let's
today,
try.
Barry.
Let's see if we can put up one of the comments up.
All right.
And see if we can.
What do we got?
Or well, if we can't, that's okay because
wait.
we're eating up time.
See the difference on how, Eric Bailey, see the difference on how President Trump's
Well,
versus
you can read that, huh?
Barack Obama's addressing the nation after
yeah.
a mass shooting.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
And then he said it's all about compassion. I mean, Obama went to the church, sang.
That's right.
He cried after Sandy Hook.
He did.
He didn't tell them to bring a baby back for a photo op and do a thumbs up with his wife in a black dress like they were
No,
going
or
to a
talk
club.
about his crowd size
Yeah.
the last time he was there.
His wife looked like they were going to a club or something. It's
Unbelievable.
pathetic.
It really is pathetic. And they are the most. He should be impeached for just
trashy.
being inappropriate.
It's trashy. Yeah.
Can there be an article of impeachment for just being totally
Well,
inappropriate?
if I was in office, I'd impeach him because he's a jackass.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason. And yes, that is a high crime or misdemeanor.
To me, that is because
if you're the president,
that's the image that
Yeah.
you're putting forward to the world.
Completely agree.
And we become the laughing stock to the world right now.
We have.
Yeah. I know a lot of people may not care about that, but it's important.
It is.
Especially if you're going to need something from them at some point.
There
All
you
right.
go.
I think that's it for us. So we are going to move on to Studio B.
Studio B.
Okay. We're just going to look a lot like Studio A.
It does sometimes. Sometimes it does. But
Yeah.
all right.
And so we will see you over there.
All right. Let's go.
I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this is NewsRap live at 5. Moving on to Facebook.
Studio B.